You've got a lot to communicate, and if you can just get people to pay attention, you'll delight your customers and sell more wine. But people ignore emails and screen calls. Everyone does read their text messages, but alcohol regulations make compliance a bear. Use RedChirp to cut through the noise. Convert website traffic into reservations and sales with web-to-text chat. Reliably reach members about customizing club orders, declined cards, and delinquent pickups. Exceed your sales goals with customized promotions that make everyone feel like a VIP. Securely collect credit card info 6 times faster. Reduce returns and no-shows with completely automated shipment notifications and reservation reminders, while order attribution automatically connects text to sales so you know what's working. RedChirp is trusted by wineries of all sizes and integrates with your other tools. Get more leads, make more sales, and build stronger relationships with RedChirp.
Hi, everyone. Good late morning. I'm very excited to be up here today. I have a very good panel with me. We're going to be talking about what's driving the next generation of wine drinkers and what's motivating them, things we can do, things we should start doing, things maybe we should stop doing, things we should pivot to. And I think that we have a great group up here that comes from different perspectives of the industry, different places in the industry, to really touch on everything. I'll quickly introduce myself, but I'm just driving, so I'll get to my lovely panelists in a minute. But my name's Kristen Reitzell. I work for Jackson Family Wines. We're a family-owned global company. We have wineries all over the world. We've been doing it for about 40 years, started with a brand called Kendall Jackson, and we just keep finding reasons to go buy vineyards in really great places all over the place. We have everything from Kendall Jackson to tiny 1,000-case wineries up in Anderson Valley doing Pinot and Chardonnay, some pet nats and sparklings. And so we're always looking at what's really motivating, and we're always looking to see, like, how can we find the next generation of drinkers? Because we know, being around for a few decades, that we can't rest on our laurels, that people, you know, I always say age out of our category at times, and we have to find new ones. I think that this industry is very well posed to succeed, and we just have to get comfortable maybe doing some things we haven't done before and looking in other places for inspiration. So here we are. So first up, we have Jermaine Stone, who's the president of CEO of Crew Love Wine, and you're doing a lot. You started in the auction world, but please, you know, say a few things about yourself.
How you guys doing? Everyone calls me Jermaine Showtime Stone, a.k.a. the Wolf of Wine, a.k.a. the Zara Vibes, a.k.a. Young Thanos, because I'm out here collecting infinity stones. Right? So thank you. But I run Crew Love, which is a creative agency dedicated to blending wine and hip-hop in organic ways. We do that through general consulting with different companies. We do that through different forms of media, podcast, visual, as well as also hosting a series of events, everything from wine and hip-hop pairing battles to wine and food events. It's a lot of fun. But, you know, overall, just finding ways to reach new audiences, bridge cultures, and help people connect to wine organically, but not just wine, hip-hop also.
All right, next up we have Alicia Zavari, and she is a director with Colangelo and Partners that has a very robust PR and also digital communications practice, which you are heading up.
Sure am. Hi, everybody. Like Kristen said, account director at Colangelo and Partners, and we do everything from PR all the way to digital marketing and everything in between as well. My role here essentially is to really look at the wine industry from an outside perspective, because guess what? People outside the wine industry also drink wine. So it's really important to have that little bit of a different lens when looking at wine, but from a digital marketing perspective too, is how do we reach younger audiences? And I think this panel is doing a great job of being part of that younger demographic, so we can also shed light on different ideas and tactics that have been used before. Trial and error is always the key here, but again, you know, if we know that something did not work before, you can come to us and you won't make the same mistake twice. So that's a little bit about me.
And then next is Amanda McCrossin. She is a media personality, a creator, and an influencer, and really bridging, I think, really meeting consumers where they are in the digital space.
Yeah, hi, I'm Amanda McCrossin. I live over in Napa Valley. I'm the former wine director and sommelier at Press Restaurant, and these days I get to be a little bit different sommelier as an influencer on TikTok and Instagram. So I started all that while I was still working at Press back in the Wild West days, and kind of have seen the wine industry adopt and change social media techniques and tactics, and really excited to talk about what I've been doing and how maybe we can apply it to the world moving forward.
And AJ, certainly last but not least, but AJ Resnick, who is the CMO at Wine Access, and I think really taking kind of e-commerce and marketing to a different level when it comes to your retail space.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it. We got acquired by Norwest Venture Partners back in 2015. We've been around since 2004. So we had, your average wine drinker who is part of like the baby boomer generation. And for us, a big part of what we've done over the past 5 or so years, 6 years, is try to maintain that buyer while also reaching into a new buyer, into Gen X, into millennials, et cetera. So we've done a great job, according to the data, of keeping our buyer intact while also finding new audiences to buy wine.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for doing quick intros. I will say thank you for setting that up, AJ, because we can find new drinkers in each generation at any time, but we're really going to focus on millennials and Gen Z, a little older Gen Zs, in this segment. And I think that there is a lot of opportunity. And I spoke earlier, there's more competition ever in this space, and more competition ever in the wine space, but also the alc-bev space. And I think we as industry folks that have been here a while, or been here a year, or been here a month, we're seeing that every day. And we're seeing different alcohol beverage offerings, we're seeing different marketing, we're seeing people approach consumers in different way and really take things to a different level. And they're engaging them in so many places. Traditional absolutely still works, but there's just so many more opportunities to talk to folks. Like I said, I think this industry is very well set up to succeed, especially with this younger audience. They care about the world around them. They're super tech savvy. So all of these places that they are engaging with content and engaging with brands, the wine industry can be there too, and I think we have some compelling things to say, if I do say so for myself. But I want to get into that because I think what we all want to learn today is like, what can we do as an industry, learning from all of you and what you do every day, kind of like that kind of adjacent view. What can we do to capture their attention? And then also convert them. I think that we always want to see that ROI at the end of the tunnel. So we're going to ask some questions today and have hopefully some really key takeaways that you can all leave here with some tangible things to work with. So I'm just going to jump right into it, if that's all right. Okay, so first question, Jermaine. Thank you for saying right to my left. You speak a lot about the importance of cultural integration. And I think that we need to do that in the wine industry a little bit more. And so where do you think some of the opportunities for wineries are that you're not seeing as much right now?
Definitely, there are plenty of places. But, I'm a product of hip hop. I grew up in the Bronx, and the way that I discovered so many of the brands that I was familiar with growing up was in music videos. I think that that's just one of many areas where it's a piece of content that's being ignored. Music videos, there's comedy skits, there's so many different things happening right now where everyone's watching something, and wine is not really showing up there. I'd spoken with someone about a brand. I won't mention the brand. These are spirits, by the way. So I spoke with someone about a brand that another brand killed, and that brand was killed because this brand was showing up in every hip-hop video. And this other brand was not paying attention to who was actually purchasing their wines. Their spirits. So, thinking about showing up in places where this particular thing wouldn't usually show up makes it stand out that much more. So that's just one area, but overall I just say think outside of the box of where that customer is that you would like to reach. We know that we need to reach new customers. Where are those people that wine is not showing up? Put wine there, give them a shot.
Absolutely, and just to add on to that, very simple question, which has a very simple answer, but we don't often think about is, where are the younger consumers? And a lot of them are in school. a lot of them are getting their undergrad degrees, their masters, and a great way to position your brand is to introduce them at that age and not make wine intimidating. So what we do for a lot of our clients is we go to universities and clubs and we work with either the wine club or their spirits club and really talk to them about the category in general, but also then bring our different clients and brands some visibility so that in a year or 2 or 5 years when they graduate and have that purchasing power, they're going to remember that in university this brand came to us and spoke to us about their cab or chard, and it makes sense when you see that on the shelf that that brand recognition, that brand recall is going to be there. So I always ask myself is, where are younger consumers today? They are online, great, but beyond that, what is the physical location where we can reach them? And that's a great way to start thinking about, infiltrating these tiny spaces, and always say one step at a time.
Where are they? They're online, and what are they doing online? Get there.
The aspirational part of this is huge, right? If we can capture them younger, and obviously as the person that probably spends more time on TikTok and Instagram than anyone else, guessing, maybe not. I know for me, like I am constantly scrolling through to see what products are being placed in TikTok videos and in Instagram videos, and they're not wine related. These are fashion videos, they're food videos, they're bloggers, they're creators. They're doing their own thing that is completely outside the realm of wine, but it's always interesting to see what brands are placed or not placed in those videos. And I think one of the great examples that I didn't see that I still think is an opportunity to capitalize is we just saw the Met Gala, right? How many of us were like scrolling through frantically to see who was wearing what, cat costumes, crazy bags, there was a lot going on, right? But the one thing that I didn't see in the background of any of those videos was wine. Where were the champagne houses? Where were the Burgundy brands? Where was Bordeaux on that? Because this is luxury, aspirational things that kids as young as 14 and 15, not condoning drinking underage, but if we're talking about aspirational, where were these brands to showcase how their goods can segue with other industries like fashion, like cultural events like the Met Gala?
Anything to add, AJ?
I mean, there's nothing. I mean, these three are great, right? So there's nothing.
I got more for you later, don't worry.
So there's nothing really to add.
Yeah.
I'll speak up later. Yeah.
I think, so quick housekeeping. We are going to do questions on Slido, and so make sure to put them in there. And then even if you don't want to ask a question, just log in because you can like questions, and then secret hint, that pushes the question to the top, so it's more likely that I'm going to answer it if we're running a little short on time. So just make sure to go to slido.com. And one of the questions that actually came through, and I think it's good to answer it really quickly, is wineries that don't have sponsorship money to be in a music video or do product placement at like the Met Gala. I'll let you guys jump in. I'll tell you, as a winery that has conservative budgets on some brands, we work with influencers a lot. Like, we put product placements on folks that are going to be doing coverage on the Met Gala. So you can still get involved in a cultural moment. You don't have to be the marquee sponsor of the Met Gala to get your product associated with that. I don't know if anyone knows, but we do a lot around the Kentucky Derby. We're the official sponsor of the Kentucky Derby now with Kendall Jackson and La Crema. But before that, you would see our brand affiliated with the Kentucky Derby because people talk about it, and we would find those people on Instagram and other social media platforms, or doing blogs, or doing traditional media articles. And we wanted to make sure that our brands were associated with that because we have a natural tie to that industry. So that was just one question I felt like, let's get the answer out there quickly. But you don't have to have millions of dollars to do a sponsorship to be a part of a conversation. And I'll let anyone else jump in on that too.
Met Gala watch party.
There you go.
With La Crema.
You could host
how
one at
great
your
would that have
wineries.
been, right?
Yeah.
Love is Blind reunion also would have been great. Actually, that's a great example. If anyone watched anyone watch Love is Blind? Yeah. Did you watch the reunion that was supposed to be live? Crazy, right? So the short version is the Love is Blind reunion was supposed to be live. They totally messed it up. And so we were all just sitting there for an hour waiting for this thing to come on live. And all of these brands got on the IG Live, Cheesecake Factory included, and crushed it, right? They had their social media managers in there in the chat laughing about what was going on. And I thought to myself, I was like, wouldn't it be so great for a wine brand to get in here and be like, anybody have some corks they want to pull? You could have been funny with it. And I think those are great examples of not having to spend tons of money, but still be involved in the moments.
I could speak to this one. At Wine Access, we actually don't spend a lot of money on marketing, but we lean very heavily into partnerships. Everyone reaches out to us asking for free wine. We don't like to give away free wine because we don't make our own wine, right? We're a retailer who sells other people's wine. But we've partnered with the Michelin Guide, and we have a wine club with them. We've partnered with Rimowa to do a cool release around Andy Beckstoffer. These partnerships become culturally relevant. They reach new audiences. These brands then push it out, because if you have a great idea and you work with the right partner who's got reach into the folks, sort of like what Jermaine was saying, like, where are they? Other brands have that reach, and other brands want wine and want cool experiences. The brand managers love drinking wine. So I think that partnerships, have really helped us accelerate growth.
And really quickly, just with regard to the music videos, don't price yourself out. You'd be surprised. Catch artists on the come up that would be happy to put. Sometimes I've had people just call me just to get bottles, and they're not sponsored. So direct reach outs to artists, get people that are on the come up, and furthermore, so often you'd get a lot more value with working with an artist or video director or whomever that's on the come up, because they're going to feel super important that a brand reached out to them and excited, and now you're going to develop that relationship with someone that's on the come up. So that'd be my suggestion.
And as a brand, you're a leader, right? Like, when you know what's up and coming,
It shows
you're
that.
seen as someone who's up and coming.
I think, and make sure to pay attention, like, who has influence that already likes your product. People love wine. A lot of partnerships that have come through organically for us, it was folks that were like, I love your winery. Can I get some wine? We're like, yes. You can, do you want a case a month? I mean, so there's things that have come through organically that cost no money, because the gentleman or the woman on a show loves our wine, and that's what's stocked in her house anyway. And so just start paying attention who's tagging you, who's paying attention. Don't disregard tags. Like, look, if you have a social media presence, which I hope all of you do, make sure someone's doing the community management part of that and really engaging with who wants to engage with you, because that's where it can really start, and that's where you can get into these amazing opportunities with samples and in-kind donations. So you don't, like I say, if you have a conservative budget, if you have no budget, you can still, I think, make impact in those cultural places and those places where, like, these events are happening and a lot of people are there and they drink wine. Know the value of our product. Wine is amazing, and we have a beautiful aesthetic and background. There's a romance to that, and we put on great events out here. So, like, watch parties, things like that. Just thinking kind of outside those traditional kind of reasons why people gather. Maybe we're really cool, you guys. We can do a lot of cool stuff. Okay, with that, just kind of, like I said, and I say this a lot, like, I think we're very well set up to succeed. I think we are succeeding. I think that the consumers have a perception of wine that is really good for us. They look at us as a natural product. They look at us as the healthier option at oftentimes with alcohol beverage. So, like, we're already in a really good position with our consumer from their mindset. So with that, where do you feel like wineries really need to start doing this to reach those younger drinkers, knowing their minds are kind of in the right place for the wine industry to engage with them? And also, to be honest, like, if you're like, please stop doing something, I think we're all okay taking some of that, like, tough love as well. And Amanda, I'm gonna kick it off to you, because I've heard you and I talk about this a lot.
Okay, so I think we could all end the drone shots for a while, right? Like, we're all established.
Do we have enough? Okay.
I mean, they're always beautiful, like, great for a web page, but, like, we don't need to see it on Instagram any longer. And if we do, there better be a really compelling story behind that. And so on that, I think one of the things that I have learned over the course of however many years I've been doing this is, for me, the content that works best is the content that is contextualized. And of course, storytelling is great. I know that's a huge part for you, and storytelling is amazing. But for consumers that are watching my content and potentially your content, contextualizing why things are relevant, right? So why do we care about this wine? How is this going to make me feel if I purchase this wine? What am I learning here? And so the things that I've done in the videos is highlight very common pain points, right? You walk into a wine store, you see an Italian wine label, there's a lot of things on there that do not make any sense to you, and then you spot this little thing that says DOCG at the top. And you're like, oh, I remember that TikTok video when she was like, hey, DOCG means quality. This is an easy thing for me to understand. And so by highlighting that pain point that everyone has felt, and offering a viable solution, and then diving even deeper into what that actually means. Not only have you provided context for why you should buy this particular bottle of wine, but also you've provided a really great, valuable educational opportunity that we're not often able to deliver because the messaging can be complicated. So context is huge. Passion is the other thing. I think, I was just down in Argentina in Mendoza, and I spent some time with the producer Zavari, and I like the Zavari wines a lot. Wine Access has featured a few that I've been very fond of. And so when I got down there, I had a fondness for it, but I fell in love with Zavari by way of Sebastian Zacari's, and because of his passion and enthusiasm for things like soil pits, things I didn't care about at all. But now I have this image just emblazoned in my mind about all of this calcareous soil that lives in these different vineyards. And so for me, it was passion begets passion, right? We can all get on board with a topic that maybe is interesting or not interesting to us by way of passion. I don't care about soils. Really, I'm a Somm, so I kind of do, but I don't really care about soils. But that day I did. And to me, if you have someone that has passion and has enthusiasm, push them out in front of the camera, show that passion. It is infectious. People love passionate people, and it really shows up in video form.
Absolutely, and just to add on to that, it can be passion for anything. It doesn't have to be specifically about wine, and I think the wine industry tends to gravitate a lot towards food, which makes sense because you want to talk about pairing and versatility, but think beyond that. Think about fashion, think about beauty, think about sports, just multiple ways to really go beyond the content you're producing. And I think a lot of brands have a lot of serious content, and no one really cares about serious content. They go to social media to have fun, to see something that they can relate to. So, try humorous content, for example. People love seeing something that's funny. People think that, self-deprecating humor is a real thing. That's what's happening on TikTok and Instagram, and there is a way to build a community with the content you create. So understand what platform you're targeting and create content that's best suited for that platform, because the demographics of TikTok are very different than the demographics of Facebook. So in no way or shape or form am I saying create a humorous video and upload it to Facebook and target it to someone who's 85, but take the same content, put it on TikTok, and I guarantee you a 25-year-old is gonna love it, engage with it, and share it. So don't stress too much about being serious or technical. Just have fun with it, because people go to social media to have fun.
And it's really easy to get at the information. TikTok, Meta, they've got the resources. You could go into TikTok and take a look at the ads from all of the top advertisers. Same with Meta. So if you don't know where to start, that's a great place to start, because the people who are spending the most money on the platform are the people who are also having the most success.
Any final thoughts?
I think we summed it up. Awesome.
Just bottle shots have to go, right?
What was it?
You wanted hard feedback, right?
There you go.
Bottle shots have to go.
Bottle shots.
You can have one.
Because there's no context? It's just a bottle.
Again, there better be some context or a great story, right?
Other thing is just bring people on your journey. Bringing
let 'em
people
in.
along the journey.
Yes.
And you live, this is content right now. Every moment that you live, people just like to look at stuff online. And it's so true. Just stay in the timeline, somehow. Even if you popping on in the morning, hey guys, about to have a great day, that's it. And that's fine. This guy wishes me morning every single morning. He's such a positive guy. And there you go. That's how it happens. So everything is content. Just show people what's going on.
What's the Gary Vee thing is document, don't create, which is actually really valuable. People are more interested in the mundane thing, or the things that you find mundane, than we realize.
And it doesn't
Especially
need to
in
be a big production every time. Honestly, I fought against this for years. A bunch of people on my team would always tell me, do more face front camera stuff. I just never liked that. And those are always the videos that do the best, the most informal, easy, chill thing. So don't feel like you have to, if that's not what the budget has, do what you got. Use what you got to the best of your ability.
Absolutely, and just to add on to that, hire someone who's 22 and out of college. They know so much about content creation, and the same content that would take perhaps someone else 4 hours to put together, this kid is gonna do it in 5 minutes, and it's gonna engage really well on the platform. So think about that, and to the point of not having serious content, behind the scenes, we tell our clients this all the time, Go behind the scenes, show them how wine is made, do a Q&A with the winemaker, but keep it fun and casual. So don't overthink anything, just whatever you think makes sense, try it out. And that's the great thing about social media is you can put out content, test it, and then learn from it moving forward.
Yeah, and I think that's really good. I mean, there's a lot of data out there, be that in the platform, be that, you can look at just what's performing well. I think it's really important, like as a winery, we have, coming from the marketing world, we have our brand guidelines, we have our aesthetic, we have our look, our feel, we have a tone of voice, like we have a personality. And I think sometimes that end part, that personality, like show that a little bit more, because we see it behind the scenes. We don't have to be as polished and buttoned up, because then everyone's going to be a little bit more polished and buttoned up. So when we say peek behind the curtain, that can be a little raw. Like that can truly be a behind the curtain. If anyone done like ballet or theater, behind the curtain is kind of chaos, but people love that. And that's what they want to see. They don't want to, like, if we see this perfect manicured industry, it can look a little intimidating. It can look intimidating to engage in it from a consumer perspective. It can be intimidating to feel like, how do I go work for those people if I've never been in the wine industry before? So talking about, we're trying to, always recruiting, right? We always want good, new, fresh ideas. We got to make things feel a little bit more approachable. And I love that. And I think you can stay true to yourself. Like from the winery perspective, you can stay very true to yourself and still look at like, what are the trends that fit into my brand personality? What are the things that make sense for me as a brand? And we can let loose a little bit. I call it edutainment, and I know it's overused, but it's true. You can be educational and entertaining, and you don't have to feel like you're making a fool of yourself. And then think about what you like. What do you like on social? Follow other brands, alcohol brands, other wineries. It's okay to like look outside your backyard for ideas and inspiration, because if it's engaging you, it's probably going to engage your consumer. But I'm going to stick on the data thing, because I've heard a lot from all of you of like, know yourself, but also like you have to know your consumer, not only where they are, like what platforms they are, but like what kind of content is doing well on those platforms. So that's like a little bit more platform data, but how, and AJ, I might kind of throw this to you, because I know data plays a big role in how you do a lot of your consumer marketing, but like data has been discussed more, in my opinion, about like first party data, your customer data, more in recent years than like ever. And coming from a different industry, like data was like our lifeblood. How important, I'm just gonna ask this very general, how important it is to know who your consumer is before you start your marketing of your brand?
God. My background is also CPG, so I worked on one of the larger CPG companies to build their data roadmap and help them leverage first-party data that they had not been leveraging to drive revenue. So when I came to Wine Access, a company that's been sitting on data since 2004, that was first and foremost, right? Like there's the data that we have about our customer. We profile every single wine from, like acid to body. We have got a ton of information about what people have purchased across different regions, varieties, et cetera. But what we didn't have was data on the customer that we're looking to acquire as well. So I think that that's probably the biggest challenge, because a lot of folks sit on top of their own data, like use it, right? Like take a look, segment your audience. It's not one message to everyone. You're going to see trends within the data that's going to help you have a more personal, relevant conversation. And that's going to be even more important as you bring new folks into the brand who might have slightly different expectations. But there's tons of different ways to go out. Data's sort of shifted in the past 5 years with privacy concerns. But we're taking a look at folks who are coming in from new channels and then using Facebook data, for example, to understand what else they're consuming out there, what other types of content they're into. I had a conversation with a huge publication the other day. They've got a host of different magazines, and they were saying, yeah, like we could enrich your data as well. So see what's out there, and it's just a great way to learn what people are interested in, because then to the point of like, music, you'll know what they're into, what they're listening to, where you could sort of put sponsorship dollars if you want to be able to sponsor a festival, or if you want to go into like, underground networks as well. It's all out there, and it makes for much smarter decisions that's going to help your dollars go further.
Yeah, and just to the data point, I think looking at it from a different perspective too is the younger audiences, especially in the US, consider that a lot of them are immigrants, right? A lot of that data is something that we don't often pay much attention to. And immigrants have different consumption occasions. So is Christmas a big deal? Absolutely. But what about Chinese New Year? What about Diwali? Where are these younger audiences spending their time, and how are they celebrating with wine? So that's just another way to consider how to look at data. And we always tell our clients, if you don't know who your consumer is, do focus groups, do surveys, walk in Manhattan and ask a person at a wine bar, how do they consume wine? What do they look for when buying wine? Because there's so much you can learn by just talking to consumers.
Yeah, especially those wineries that have a DTC, a winery presence that see customers and have a tasting room. That's like those people have made a strong effort to be out here. You know, it is a luxury to come to wine country in California. It is not something you decide, you know, not everyone gets to do. And I think a lot of wineries, like, you know, 80% of your customers may never actually visit you in wine country if you do have a retail presence outside of direct to consumer. And so you got to think about that. If you got them here, talk to them. Talk to your estate hosts. You know, ask them, like, what are you hearing? I mean, you'll learn a lot, too, about maybe what level of education you're giving in those tastings. If it's like they're nodding their head, but they have no idea what you're talking about when you're going that deep into malolactic fermentation. You know, like, it's good to kind of reform your experiences and, like, have it be something that's, you know, educational, but people aren't staring at you like, I'm going to nod because I have no idea what this gentleman is talking to me about. I think it's important to always reevaluate our experiences on site as well as online. Okay, so with that, kind of going down this road, I think path to purchase is really important. So, you know, AJ, you come from an e-commerce website. I think I just want to pose it to the group. Like, how important is it if we're putting out all this content on social media and we're doing all these partnerships and we're tapping new audiences and we're getting our brand out there, and exposure is really important because most people don't buy a brand they don't know. Where do we send them? And what does that path to purchase look like? And where do we start? How is it important? And what is important when we're thinking about that?
I'll defer to Amanda to say wine access. But I mean, like, it's oftentimes hard to measure. You know, so if you're able to get into specific markets and have content out there, have your sales increased in those markets, I will push wine access and other brands like us. We have customers. It's a great way. Every single piece of content that Wine Access puts out there is written. We'll hop on the phone with the winemaker. We want to tell brand stories. We've got an audience. There's a lot of competitors who I won't name who do the same. So create this, and I mean, I'll say, in speaking with winemakers as well, they'll say, after we advertise with you, we see people buy direct from us. So make your wine available for purchase. I know a lot of folks like to, you know, sort of go 100%, you know, own the path to purchase, but people are going elsewhere to buy their wine. So be there. Like, put your wine on the digital shelf as well.
I mean, I'm sorry. I definitely think, you know, it's definitely important to have a good marriage with your distributor, and understanding the customers that your distributor is servicing. You know, you don't want to just blast information out into a vast space and hope that someone that likes it is going to get it. It's just, you know, what restaurants, what neighborhoods, like, and once you figure out where these areas are that distributors, clients are that are selling your wines, lock in and focus what's important in the area. Who's the local celebrity? You know, who's the cool person? And the more that you understand where the wine is being sold, you know, it doesn't stop at just looking online and guessing and trying to be the biggest person. I say often, you can go to 10 restaurants on one street, and it's very unlikely that everyone would have the same wine list. You know, there's just so much of it. So the more individualized you can know, and each market's different. So the more you understand the difference of your different distributor relationships and dial in on that, whatever's working, do more of it. You know, that's what I would do.
Yep, and just to add on to that, you know, just being on an e-com platform is no longer enough these days, you know, because when people go to a platform to search for wine, you're going to get the bigger wineries pop up, and that gives the smaller brands a much tougher time to then get that visibility that you're looking for. So be strategic in a way that you're putting ad dollars and working with e-commerce platforms to really understand what your strategy looks like. So that's something our clients come to us and say, we are on e-com, but we're not selling through, and that's because any consumer going to the platform is in a sea of more than 500 different brands to choose from. How do you really get up there? And there are a lot of different ways and tactics to do that. And to your point, have a good marriage with the person who is a distributor, your e-com platform, because that's what's going to take you to the next level.
I guess I come at it from a slightly different angle since the wines that I talk about, I'm talking about on TikTok and Instagram. And so one of the primary things that I've had to do, and for those of you who don't know, AJ and I have a relationship with Wine Access. I host their podcast, and then they're also my official retail partner. And the reason that they became my official retail partner, or online wine retail partner, was because this path to purchase for consumers on Instagram and TikTok was so challenging. And one of the huge education pieces that I had to do was inform people why they should care about where they buy their wine. It's important for X, Y, and Z reasons. I don't need to spell them out for you here. But having a trusted retailer and spelling out all the things that they do is one of the paths to purchase that I have. The other path to purchase is offering multiple different ways to purchase wine and to get in on those things. So wine clubs are huge. Showing people, like we have the podcast Wine Club, showing people that they can have this immersive experience while still enjoying wine is a different path to purchase. So I find that not everyone enjoys the same barriers to entry, be it whether they shop online or not, but obviously for me, a lot of times that's the case. So I like to offer multiple paths that people can get in on buying wine, because not everyone's buying wine in the same way. We're all buying it for different reasons and for different purposes in our own lives.
Yeah, and I think as a consumer, we're all consumers as well as members of the industry, but we buy wine in all these places. We buy it online, we buy it in a tasting room, we buy it at a restaurant, we buy it in a retail store. And I think, I think social media can play a really big role. And there was a question about that it does play a really big role in creating awareness around your brand and getting that exposure. We talk a lot about digital influence, and the younger generations, millennials, are the most digitally influenced generation. Gen Z as well, but they're not all 21 yet. But they're the most digitally influenced group. And everyone's like, what does that mean? And I said, basically, they found out about a product or researched a brand that influenced their purchase. And wine is actually the most digitally influenced alcoholic beverage category. There was a study done about 3-tier e-commerce, and they found that it was in the high 60, I think it was 68% of, it was wine consumers, the most digitally influenced consumer in the alcohol beverage space. So they're doing the most research. I can probably tell you why. We're a little bit more complex than tequila, which has 3 versions, right? And so then it's more about brand research. And so we have a lot to learn. So it's not surprising, right? We're all I see a lot of heads nodding going yeah, that doesn't surprise me that people would be doing online research before they purchase a wine, particularly when they don't know. So you have to be digitally available to your consumer. So make sure your story's tight. Make sure you can be found on some type of maybe online retailer if you have a 3-tier presence, or your own from a direct to consumer. But Google yourself. What's showing up? You like what's showing up? You don't? Maybe think about that, but own your digital presence, because that is where consumers are potentially finding you, and it's in a lot of reasons, it's the only place they're finding you. All those consumers that don't just come to your tasting room. You can influence them without ever having them step their foot through the door. By the way, they also do a lot of research before they book a tasting. So also tourism websites. This is where traditional media, earned media, still plays a big role in this. Earned media is sometimes the top couple websites that come up if that gets traction. So people are I need to be in that list. Top places in Napa Valley to visit, or top wines for Mother's Day. So remember your PR people too. We have a PR agency on the panel. So, but earned media plays a big role. So like I said, it's a blend of traditional and it's a blend of kind of emerging digital media. And it all can work together in a really, really great way for this industry. I'm going to wrap because I do want to get to a couple of questions because I got some popular ones here. Some are tactical that we can probably get to quickly. But I want to ask each of you, so we'll go down the line. What should wineries be absolutely keeping their eye on right now? Might be emerging, might be something we're not doing, but what's something you feel strongly we should be keeping our eye on and not kind of falling to the waysides with?
I think there's a lot of opportunity in the experiential space. At this point, you have to bring people in. People like to touch, feel, and there's festivals all over the place. Give people a reason to experience your product, and not just talk at them. Don't just bring them to lunch and say, hey, this is where it's grown, this is what it. No, you have to immerse them. Find multiple ways to tell all parts of the story. I like to start with broad strokes, right? You start with the thing that everybody will understand, and you just keep pairing back, because people will grab whatever they feel applies to them. Everything applies to, they're going to be paying attention the whole time. It's amazing. It's a crazy concept. But, I definitely think that getting into the experiential piece and helping people to understand your brand in more ways than one, because you never know which way that they're going to experience it will resonate with them the most.
That's great. I agree. I'm a big proponent of diverse teams build diverse brands and diversity across the spectrum. So if I could leave one takeaway, it would be hire someone young and hire someone who is not in the wine industry, because that's going to teach you so much about how the younger demographic is thinking about wine or the lack of not being thought about. So really challenge yourself and work with someone who potentially you would never work with, because you're gonna learn a lot from them.
I love that piece of advice. I think it's important. Also, if you're gonna hire someone young and outside the industry, make sure they know what your core brand values are. That probably goes without saying, but I get a lot of disparity between the people that respond to me in the DMs and comments versus what the brand actually is. So just I think it actually kind of goes along with what my takeaway is, or what I hope to impart, which is obviously content creation is big for all brands. We should all be making content as much as we can, but listening and engaging. I know we talked about keeping an eye on your tags and who's posting about what, but listening on the platform, reading the comments, combing through to see what questions people are asking, what are the pain points that they're experiencing. A lot of times it has to do, I just posted a video yesterday, and the amount of times that people said, I can't figure out how to buy this wine, despite the fact that I had it linked. They decided to go on their own, Google the brand, they went to the brand's website and couldn't figure out how to buy the wine. Now, that's a problem, I think, right? So if you're the brand, pay attention to those comments and see what people are talking about. A lot of times it helps inform my own content, but I think it could also potentially help inform your content and your marketing strategies. And just on that note, the video was interestingly on an alternative enclosure. It was a double magnum of rosé. So it was a plastic bag wine, and it was interesting how many people were super excited about these alternative formats and how excited they got. So just as a note of things that we're keeping our eye on, I think alternative packaging is definitely one of them, because of the comments that I got, there were only maybe one or two that were like thumbs down. The rest were like, let's do it.
I mean, we're always testing our website, to your point, like make it really easy to buy. Probably have 3 tests going on at a time. So outside of e-commerce, because I know I've spoken a lot about that, be culturally relevant. I saw this one winery up in Oregon who's trying to bring people back into the city of Portland. Portland's had a rough couple years, and they're bringing people back into the restaurants, and they're sort of sponsoring this movement. And I think that when you could do something bigger than yourself, and that's what a lot of other brands, outside of wine are doing, you could have a lot of success.
Thank you. I think those are all really good tips. I think things we should always be thinking about. I think relevant to this consumer segment that we're talking about too. I wrote some things down, just kind of like takeaways I think that are really relevant throughout everything you were saying. Is like storytelling, authenticity is our industry's strength, and we have a really cool place and story to tell and a cool product. So like, let's get some swagger around that. And it doesn't have to be just education. It can be education and some entertainment. It sounds like we need to know ourselves first, those brand guidelines. Like, it's okay to have strong identity, but then know your audience and set goals. It sounds like, know what you're going to go out there and do. So don't just throw a bunch of things against the wall and hope it works. If you're going to do stuff in market, like see if you have a market lift. I think a lot of people ask about ROI, because we all should, but have a plan to measure that, even if it's not a sales number. Like, you want to see a lift, or you want to see your engagement go up, or you want to see, compare some content, do some A/B testing on social or on your website. 100% agree. Test your website. Make it easy for people to give you your money. It's really important. This day and age, it's like you can't click buy. They're going to be looking to go somewhere else to do it. I love the personality. I think passion does sell. I think sometimes we hold back. I think I'm going to take that as my takeaway. Cultural integration. I don't think we could have spoken louder about that, be it events, experiences. I have a follow-up question to that around the experiences in a second, so be thinking about that. And then look to bring outside perspectives. You just said that's something we need to do a better job. I think this industry has made a lot of strides, especially in the last few years, to recruit more people to this industry, and I think that's where it starts, and it's creating an opportunity to make this feel like welcoming and not intimidating to our consumers, as well as people that want to come work with us. And most people start as wine consumers. I actually think most of us did we all not start in the wine industry? Yeah, but we loved wine. And we're like, how do I get in on that? And luckily we found our path and our door. But it's not always easy for everybody if you're in the middle of the country or somewhere in the middle of the world. And then have a strong digital presence. Like I said, I think that people are looking for you. This generation is tech savvy. They're going to do some research. They're very confident in their decisions because of that. So don't underestimate them. Make sure the story that's online and is out there about you is the one you want being told. And feel free to update that content with some new images, new ideas. The more you get engaged with, the more you show up in search, which is, I think, really important. That search, when I say search, I mean on Google, like Google search, and social too. Really important to pay attention to. People are using TikTok like Google now because it's serving them more relevant information. And I'm going to answer the most tactical question that is say, no, alcohol brands cannot have a brand presence on TikTok. We are legally not allowed to be there yet, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't be paying attention to it. If that door opens, there's a lot of consumers there that love wine. Amanda can attest to that. She goes viral on TikTok a lot with her content, and it's educational and informative and engaging. And I'm going to let you jump on that. Like, how can brands, knowing as an alcohol brand, I mean, your winemakers might be there and people can be there, but as an alcohol brand, we're really not really allowed to be there. I'm like, until Budweiser's there, we're probably not allowed to be there, guys. Do you think spirits and beer would be there first? Trust me, they have all the cash. What should we do, though, as platforms that we legally can't engage on as a brand? How should we still stay in the know and engage there?
Yeah, I mean, the most viral, relevant content that's shaping our culture right now is being created on TikTok, whether we want to admit that or not. It happens in TikTok first, and it expands from there. So if you want to be listening, if you want to be in on whatever the cultural zeitgeist is of our particular moment, that's where you need to be. And I think looking at other brands, we've mentioned makeup, fashion, food, they're crushing it, and they all have incredible teams that run their TikTok accounts and create content. They also have great social teams that work with influencers. So I think one of the things that we can be borrowing, in addition to what kind of content they're creating on TikTok, because by the way, maybe you can't post it on TikTok, but you could borrow it and post it on Instagram, right? And then you'll just be like really ahead of the game. But one of the other things that you could be doing is looking to see how other brands are working with influencers and doing it in really unique ways. What was once maybe a good example is turning into a less great example, which was the Tarte influencer trip. It was a good example a few weeks ago until things kind of went astray, but I think it is a good example in that Tarte was a makeup company that was doing these insane influencer trips, and it was building huge brand awareness. It sort of went left in a weird way, but anyway, I think that's a great example of things that we can be borrowing from other industries and just listening. It goes back to listening, figuring out where the pain points are, and figuring out how we can steal from these other industries that maybe have bigger budgets than we do.
I'm really glad you said that, because for a long time, like, Reels was the preferred content and was being prioritized with the algorithm more than other content on Instagram. So if you were on that quick and creating Reels, you probably got more organic growth organic growth is like you're reaching for that, because it's very expensive to be on social media with content nowadays. It's a media platform, it's pay for play. So I think that, to your point, like, sometimes trends are set elsewhere. Meta's not stupid. It's not going anywhere. They're gonna capitalize on that, because they want to make sure that they're keeping their engagement and their audiences on their platform. And so I think that's really important to, even though you're not managing a brand presence there, make sure someone on your team has a TikTok account and is thinking about what kind of content is really working and engaging, and then go back to what we said earlier, is like, and then does it work for your brand? Does it make sense for your brand? I'm going to kind of jump to a different question that talks about, I'm a luxury brand, social media content. How do those play together?
Me again.
Any of you?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think Jermaine can answer this too, but it totally works. I mean, all of the big fashion houses have luxury brands. Dior just released a TikTok video yesterday that was like, we invite you to follow us on our TikTok journey. Like Dior is there, Louis Vuitton is there, Hermes is there. These luxury brands are there and they have a presence. They just have strong brand identity and it matches what they're doing on socials. So, they just can't be different from each other. Otherwise you have a branding problem. But I do think luxury needs to be marketed different than non-luxury. They're two completely different things. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just thinking about how that luxury shows up. You never see a Maybach advertisement, but I see Maybachs online all the time. So it's just about kind of showing people why it's luxury. Aside from just putting it out, put the product out there, make sure you show people, dress for the part you want. Show people that it's luxury. Show them why it's luxury. Show them, because, I speak from a hip hop perspective, but really there's so much aspiration out there. People tie onto aspirational things. You have to show people the baskets so they can shoot at them, and everybody wants to feel fly.
I think it's that aspirational, right? Like we talk about aspirational is okay.
And the reality is, like, consumers can now be more connected with luxury brands than ever before. Pre-digital, pre-social media, you could walk by a storefront. Maybe you could see some wealthy person with like a nice handbag. But today, like, it's in your face. And it hasn't gone down, it's only gotten more expensive.
And I'll just say that, to add on, there's a fine line between luxury and unattainable, and you don't want to be unattainable. You want the consumers to still know that they can get it, so that's the fine line just to keep in mind.
Approachable luxury.
There you go. All right, this is going to be my last question, and then we got to wrap, and I'm keeping you for lunch, so hopefully you didn't even know that. But outside of social media or the digital experience of a brand, what do we think consumers are actually really looking for in like experiences, maybe our own experiences, or like what is something that this generation might be looking for that past generations or current generations that are more engaged are?
I've found, and there are a ton more ways, but just one of the ways that I've found that have been really reaching people is dynamic wine and food pairings. Showing people different uses for the wines that they've become more familiar with for one particular thing. An example is Sauterne. I think that somewhere I've had success is showing people that Sauterne is more than just a dessert wine, highlighting it with spicier foods, showing the versatility in those styles of wines. So I think that's just one amazing example. It's just showing up in those places where you wouldn't expect it, and then showing how this fits in those scenarios so well.
Any final thoughts?
I think on my end, one thing that I think consumers, and especially younger demographics, are looking for is that they just want to know that brands care. Like, pick a cause and show that you actually care about it. It doesn't have to always be about sustainability, because sustainability is great, it's important, but you can care about something beyond that sphere and then really own it beyond just a marketing perspective, because consumers can read between the lines. They're not idiots. They want to know that, okay, if you care about it, how are you showing it? So always pick one cause and really go for it.
And then back to like the luxury question, experiences that money can't buy.
They like that, don't they? And then we make it something you can buy. With that, I think there's always, we threw out a lot of ideas. And I want to, first thank my panelists. I think they give some great advice today. I was really excited. I got to moderate this amazing group of people that I, get to work with too a little bit in my job. We threw out a lot of ideas, right? A lot of new ideas, a lot of ideas, taking things we do and maybe thinking about it differently. Introducing new things in a traditional industry can be really hard. There was a question about this, but we do get that resistance sometimes. And I think my advice to that, and please let me know if you don't agree, but I think the proof is in the results. And I think that if you're hitting resistance on trying something, just feel like, can you let me try one thing? Let me try for 1 month. And I think that with all these ideas, you came to this panel, you got to listen to these experts. I think this is a great opportunity to go back to, be it your partner, your boss, your winemaker, your leadership team. And I think that deploying some new ideas and making sure you set those goals and think about how you're going to measure results is always a great place to start. and hopefully you have some new ideas, some new inspirations, and we're all working together to usher in a new consumer because it's the greatest industry in the world. All right, thank you all.